And at some point in the late 80s, they surveyed a lot of kids in the school district, and they said, what do you want? Because there was seemed to be a lot of problems in town. And they said, what do you want? And they said, we want a place of our very own. My name is Jim Tinger. I'm the youth director for the town of New Paltz. I got here before the youth center. I grew up on Long Island, and I moved up here to go to college, just like everybody else, and I wound up staying here. So I was a college student, really. I had some experience. I worked at some camps and other things, but I volunteered here for about a year. I created the tutoring program at the middle school, and I created the Saturday night recreation program, and it just kind of, then I started working at the camp here, and then it kind of really snowballed, and I wound up getting this job. I believe this place, again, discrepancies, but I was told that it was either a college housing or was a doctor's office beforehand. But the town bought it in 1989, and it's been a youth center ever since. So.
I've been coming here for 2 years.
I've been coming here since 6th grade, which is probably seven and a half years now. I came here before I was actually allowed to. I had a friend that was in middle school, and they showed me here, and then I had to leave because I wasn't old enough, but they let me hang out later on when I got into 6th grade. This is almost like the getaway place, like the second family that I don't have at my own house. So it's almost like an escape. You're in middle school, you go out and you hang out with your friends at the cool lighthouse with all the, video games and Wii and ping pong.
I hang out at the youth center because it's a place where I can meet with my friends and my parents won't freak out because I'm just walking around town and can be supervised. When I started coming here, I met a lot of new people. I met Zach, who was my boyfriend. It was great. And
Yeah, I was in the tutoring program that they have here for a while because my grades weren't doing so good. I've befriended a lot of the people who work here, like the college kids and the counselors, we call them. I'm not sure what their actual occupation is. They just kind of hang out with us, and it's really great. It's a great program.
really, when I have issues at home or even with this one, I go to the counselors at the teen scene, and they give advice when you ask for it, but they're not like, they don't pry into your life.
They really go out of the way to help every student. I mean, if you're not feeling good and you need someone to talk to, you come here and all the staff are willing to listen to you and give you advice on anything that you come to them with. Jim's a very, very big father figure for me. When there were times when there were things I didn't really feel able to speak with my own father about those things. You come here and he's more of a friend than he is like an adult. He's at that level, the same level with you. It's not like parents like above you. You don't like that feel. You come here, and all the staff are friends. They're like just you and I.
My name is John House Wilson. I originally started working here 10 years ago as a student employee, and then I left. And then I came back and worked as a student employee again like 2 years ago, and I've been working full time for about 1.5 years, 2 years. So. Well, being a role model, I think everybody has the capacity to be a good example. But I think working here in particular, there's people who've come in as work-study students or interns who've left within a couple of weeks because they just didn't want to be in this kind of environment because it's loud and it's chaotic.
I don't think it's a job that anyone can do well, because I think you have to be passionate about working with young people first and foremost, because if you don't enjoy working with young people, then it kind of defeats the whole object. I don't think you'll enjoy, working with them as much.
I don't think it's that tough. It's a little exhausting sometimes, but overall it's rewarding, and that definitely makes you feel a little bit better about it. Working for the youth program is not for everyone. The right mindset is definitely a plus. You've seen a lot of...
Well, one of the major things about working here is being in an unscripted environment. And I think when some people come here to work as interns or student employees, they're not comfortable with being in an unscripted environment with adolescents, and they don't know what to do. I was more comfortable with it because I personally, like my entire childhood, I didn't like being in organized activities. I played sports, but I never liked being on team sports. I didn't like being in Boy Scouts. I hated all that crap. I do things with kids all the time that I want kids to be able to do, but it's probably not a good idea. So yeah, it's the kind of stuff, if something goes wrong, I could really get in trouble for it. If there's a parent who happened to be overly protective, a lawyer, that kind of stuff. So I definitely let kids do things that other programs probably wouldn't let them do. Like today we were playing with the tarp. That was really fun. That's the kind of thing that a lot of counselors would say, no, you cannot have kids like on a skate ramp holding something that can rip out of their arms or pull them off the ramp or slide down the ramp and hurt themselves. For me, I'm like, it's because of personal experiences. I mean, I was given a lot of free rein as a child. I got some basic instruction on how not to hurt myself and how to be moderately responsible, and I used common sense. And so a lot of times when I interact with kids, one of the biggest problems I have with them is that they haven't been given the freedom or opportunity to develop common sense or adult behavior or responsible behavior. I don't encourage kids to do things that are dangerous, but if I see kids doing stuff that is slightly risky or having a conversation that's slightly risque, I don't squelch it. And because of that, sometimes there's conversations get out of hand or there's behaviors that get out of hand. The social atmosphere is big, and that's a big part of it. To be in a place where there are other adolescents who are interacting in a somewhat free social environment. Because the biggest problem I see with these kids is that they aren't outside, that they sit inside and they play video games, which video games are great, but they only can teach you so much.
One of the things I feel like I do pretty well, I feel like I can handle situations pretty well. I actually enjoy the chaos and the stress of the job. I like the chaos of the action that's always going on. I like the idea of not knowing what's going to happen every day. I mean, really not having any idea. I could have the same kids here every single day and it still changes because kids are different and they're going through changes. So
it's a very consistent group of kids who hang out here that I know very well. I know their parents and I know their names and all that kind of stuff. I know what they like to do with their free time. There are kids who come every once in a while who I do not know, and I do make a point to get to know them pretty quickly. And I would actually like more of that because it's really like a very consistent crew of kids who are here, which is great, but it's a very small percentage of the community that we actually are serving through the youth program on a regular basis.
It's really changed over the years of the type of kids that we get here. Obviously, we're open to everybody, and it doesn't cost anybody anything. But when you do have a youth center after school, you do tend to get more kids who come from single-parent homes, kids whose both parents work, definitely more low income, and definitely kids who might need a youth program more than others would.
The demographic economic stats in the town are changing. So New Paltz is getting wealthier, which means that more and more of the kids in the town have parents who are driving them to soccer practice and driving them to Boy Scouts, and they're going skiing on the weekend, and they're going to the lake on the weekend, and they're going to camp and all that kind of stuff. Their lives are scheduled.
If you have a lot of money, and if you have the car, the nice car, and you live in a beautiful house, and you have all these things, and if you're in sports and you have all these activities, you don't necessarily need a youth center as much. You don't need a place where you can talk to people. You don't need a place where you need to make friends. You don't need a place because you have nowhere else to go after school. So it definitely we do get more of the kids, the more disenchanted.
And I think as New Paltz is getting wealthier, we're actually finding that we're kind of in a tricky position because there's a lot of kids whose lives are completely scheduled and who have the resources to go be in small groups of kids in exclusive environments.
We house a lot of people who do come from tough backgrounds, and I think that's why, the more the well-off community may not see it as a great place to have their kids come.
I have a neighbor who is pretty wealthy, and she was talking about sending her kid here, and she said that she was concerned about having her kid hang out with bad kids, bad element. And kind of what she was actually saying was that they really are poor kids who struggle with issues in their family, single parents, drug use in their family, whatever. And so she was basically saying, I don't know if I want my kids hanging out with poor kids. And I think that is a really destructive mentality because poverty is going to be a part of the world if your kids don't know how to interact with people who are from that background, or even just middle-class kids. They're going to be living in a very insulated world in which it's hard to find compassion. When kids' lives are so scheduled and their social group is so constricted, it's very detrimental to them. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons that kids come here. There are a lot of kids who come here because their families are non-existent. It's single parents, it's a couple of older siblings, or it's a home life they don't like to be in.
That's been probably the most stressful things, where you see what a kid goes through, you see what they're dealing with, and then you see their parents and you meet their parents and you're like, oh, and you see like that's part of the issue. And that's a hard thing to attack, because I can't really go after parents necessarily and be like, you're not doing very well here. So you can really work with kids for 4 or 5 hours a day like we do here, and then it can be all undone with a really negative home experience. I mean, the big thing is that, you know, you build up these relationships with these kids, so you really get to know them personally, where it's, you know, they're like part of your family. So when stuff happens to them, it affects you also, not just in a professional way, but in a, you know, in a personal way. This place is great for the kids who come here, but we don't serve as many kids as I still would like to. You know, we're not at like a full capacity, and I think that's a shame. I feel like that if more kids were exposed to this place and more parents let kids come here, I think they would feel comfortable here and feel more attached to it. No, I mean, obviously I think it's a really important program, and I think the kids who come here, I think, are better for it.
Well, the people I met here are very nice people, like the counselors and all of the high school people that I know, like Zach and Dustin and Haley.
If I never had it, I would not be who I am today. I would be probably a completely different person.
When I come to them with issues, they've helped me become more confident in myself, and I'm involved in music, and a few of them are involved in music, so they've helped me progress. We started attending an open mic night at Simply Create uptown, and I sang this song that I had only ever sung to myself, and I was afraid to sing in public, but I sang it at one of the open mic nights, which was a big step for me.
I don't really have that much friends in school. Like, all my friends are here. And almost everybody who comes here is my friend, so. Here, they for some reason, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but they don't judge me as much. At school, they judge me a lot. When I first came here, nobody liked me. But I stayed here for a while, and then people got to know me, and people started to like me more and more. And I think it's sort of like the Teen Center sort of builds your social skills, in my opinion.
I mean, obviously I'm going to say I think it's a positive thing, and I do think it's a positive thing. You know, I'd like to believe that, I mean, look, if we didn't have a youth program, that there, you know, I mean, a lot of places don't have youth programs, and they do fine. You know, but considering all the stuff that I feel like we do and the impact that we do have, it does frighten me to think that if there does come to a time where this is no longer here, what's going to be happening. Like, permanency is huge. I mean, I'd love to know that this will be here forever. And so having stability, I think, is important.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Some of these kids, they don't even like being here sometimes. They're like, I hate it, but they don't go anywhere. You know, they're like, this is so boring, but they hang out. So, I don't know. The mind of the adolescent's a complicated thing.